absolutely. And I feel like also the more you think about like actually learning, the more you quantify things in your head and like really break it into boxes when you do that kind of later, things you're talking about that you may know inherently, the more it allows for you to expand upon that and go further with it. So yeah, I think all that's good stuff. Do you watch any training videos and stuff now, or read any books now?
Do you watch Blue Fire Poker?
Oh, BlueFirePoker.com.
BlueFirePoker.com.
No, I meant more along the lines of you mentioned that you didn't really do that on the way up, but how about now? Even if it's just to see how other people are thinking, in order to better take advantage of them or understand what they're doing.
As of recent, no, I haven't really watched any other videos. There was a time when I watched videos a lot. You know, when you first discover, you're like, whoa, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can see everyone play their hands, and wow, you play pocket aces like that. You know, stuff like that. I did watch videos. I think Card Runners was the first one. You know, that was the most popular.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely checked that out. I checked out like the majority is a big site, so I did check out Blue Fire. It's a good site. Phil does a good job.
Phil is outstanding.
Yeah, and I checked out the Lego Deuces and all that. But actually, right now, I don't really watch anymore. Currently, I feel like my game's at I'm very content with my level of player. I still think I've improved. So maybe that's why I'm not watching as much, etc. But I take time to make videos on my own at my site, which is Poker New Strategy.
Poker New Strategy. Poker New Strategy.
Hey, we may be competitive, but we're all friends, right?
yeah, we're all friends. We wouldn't have you here if we weren't willing to let you promote a little bit.
But yeah, I do make videos for Poker New Strategy, just like you guys for Blue Fire Poker. Yep. And it's a good experience actually, just making videos. You can probably relate to it. Just when you teach and just kind of talk about hands, you start to realize things you don't normally realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more of that crystallization process we talked about.
And instead of me reading someone else's stuff, it's just me talking, speaking my thoughts. And especially for someone who doesn't do a lot of studying, I've learned a lot about poker just telling things that I know it in the back of my head, but now I can tell people.
It almost sounds like it's like playing chess against yourself and seeing new things through that process of opposing yourself and providing a different point of view.
Mm-hmm. I think making training videos or just coaching can actually benefit the person doing the coaching and making the videos as much as almost anybody else out there. So.
Yeah, and it's great to just evolve the game. Like everyone's just players who weren't so knowledgeable getting better, but as they get better, it doesn't mean the games are necessarily getting harder. You should be getting better too, and it's all relative.
Improving at a pace that is exceeding those everybody else who's improving. Now at a certain level, that is almost next to impossible because there's going to be a lot of diminishing returns with how much you can learn after a certain level.
Yeah.
Once everybody kind of gets compared to like when people had no idea what were even good starting hands to now. I mean, obviously that's different, but that actually makes me brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. So you're somebody who plays tons and tons of tables at varying stakes. For everything I've seen, 2-4 up to 100, 200, etc. So I would think that you probably have a pretty good idea as to the current climate of the games. Be able to gauge how things are. How much do you see things changing? Do you see you even maybe having to consider taking a different path from playing a ton of tables and maybe going to more live events, things like that, in order to continue to make the living you've become accustomed to? Or do you think the games are just great and keep grinding?
Like I said, the game has evolved. So yes, it's like yes and no. The games got harder because as the game evolved, I'm getting a lot better too. So I don't think that I have to start playing live games to just kind of make up for the lack of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I feel that they kind of settle with what they have sometimes. Like the Supernova League, people who kind of break even, people always talk about them on forums, it's like they try to bash them and whatnot, but...
Which isn't necessarily bad.
It's not a bad thing at all.
But
some of those people, I imagine, they're like, oh, I'm happy I got the Supernova League, got the rewards, but they don't try to improve necessarily. And that may eventually catch up to them. Whereas me, Supernova League was a nice reward, but I always tried to stay on top of the competition.
It sounds like there's always another goal for you.
Yeah,
And obviously, what your reputation is, you're somebody who crushes the games and is Supernova League.
Yeah.
Mass grinder and somebody who wins at a high clip. So yeah, I'm sure for you, you're working hard on your game.
Yeah, I don't, even though I don't do the actual homework, sometimes when I'm just driving or something, I think about poker. So it's not like I'm not thinking about poker when I'm not on the computer. And just thinking sometimes, I might be able to like, well, this one guy was giving me trouble today. What can I do? Okay, let me try this out, etc.
Yeah, even if you're not consciously, clicking through what am I thinking about poker right now, I know I've got the periods where, it's almost all I think about. And I actually feel like I learned a lot or improved a lot during those periods. Even if you can't really, like you said, actually think, how am I going to beat this guy? Just thinking about the game nonstop.
Yeah, as long as you keep your mind active on it, you just won't get left behind. And that's what I think is good.
Do you think the desire to ascend in stakes and continue to test yourself might be in part ego-driven? Like, do you have any designs on, not only sponsorship, but pseudo stardom within the poker world, or really are you a bottom line kind of guy?
I think everyone wants to kind of go up in stakes just to kind of. Yeah, there's a point when you're like, well, if I was playing playing so high, everyone would be talking about me like, oh, I'm Thistledoor, playing 10 people heads up everywhere, you know what I mean? It crosses my mind, but, I'm very happy with what I do, just playing a lot of mid-stakes to 25, 50, that's my main game.
Right.
And I know a lot of people look up to me to what I do, and they just, every time I'm walking around, people say, hey Randy, hang Nanonoko, you do a good job, just keep on doing what you do, and it kind of reinforces the point that, like, what I do is, I don't know if extraordinary is the right word, but, people look up to me, I'm doing something right.
They respect what you're doing.
They respect what I'm doing, and, that just kind of makes me want to keep on doing that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely my hero. With the sheer volume you put in, I think it is outstanding. I've never, ever put in high volume when I've played poker. And yeah, if I could find a way to even come close, or like close to half of the volume you put in, I'd be really, really happy with myself. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, because you are doing something right, and inspiring the rest of us over here.
My hero is Gandhi.
Oh,
sorry.
He's a great guy too.
Yeah. Gandhi and Nanonoko. There you go. Good guys.
So the PCA, how's it been going out here?
PCA's been great. The main event, I busted day one, so that's not actually good. The bounty tournament, I entered the 5K bounty, which was a day or two ago.
Fun event.
Yeah, it was a fun event. I had Barry Greenstein and Scott Seaver at my table. Nice guys that wanted to take my chips, and they did take my chips, so that was unfortunate. But yeah, the tournament hasn't been so great. I only played those two events. There are some other events I was interested in playing, but the Bahamas is just such a beautiful place that
Is this your first time coming here?
No, it's my second time here.
And you're still taking advantage of everything outside of the poker room.
Yeah, I brought my girlfriend with me, so we're just kind of going around the island and just doing local stuff and checking out the resort and all that good stuff. Being
that you're not a big reader and that you're not a big studier, I don't know exactly how into the whole forum community thing you are. Are you finding yourself gratified by the fact that this is kind of a reunion for that world, or is that something that doesn't play into your social calendar that much?
Well,
PCA has kind of been recognized in the last few years as the place where the entire, amongst others, the 2+2 forums gather, and everyone gets to see each other face to face for the first time, or for the one time of the year. Are you getting a chance to really spend some time with some people that you only get to chat with online otherwise?
Yeah. I didn't know it was actually like the one spot where everyone's kind of.
It's 18 and 19-year-olds can come here where they can't go anywhere else. And so
okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know. Yeah, it's just good to see a lot of internet players and just speaking. I was like, hey, I'm Greggy online, I'm Victory or whatnot.
Right.
It's pretty cool to actually get to put a face to the name and just have a nice little chat. And as I go to more events, I start meeting more and more people. And, eventually, instead of the avatars that they have online, I'm going to be able to put their faces. And now, that's really nice.
And that actually leads to an interesting question, because you've been transitioning into live play. Obviously, online is your bread and butter, but, now you're in this new world where, obviously, getting a look at a person is an important part of the game. When you get a look at those guys who are telling you their names, does that kind of give you an indicator as to who they more truly are, and therefore, is that going to help your online game against those people?
I don't know if you can go that deep into it. I mean, maybe you're onto something. I'm going to take notes on that.
Like, if you think about it, if a guy talks all tough, you get a certain image of him at the online table. You think he's probably a certain kind of person. And if he shows up and ends up being that 98-pound internet kid, then that transforms who he is a little bit. It kind of changes maybe he's trying too hard to be that person. And I have to think that plays into your profiling a little bit, right?
I think he's going a little far with it.
There's a new book coming out.
Yeah, I think it's a fun sounding topic, I think I'm feeling.
I come from a live background, so for me, there's always been a lot of profiling. You look at a person, you try to figure out who they are, and you make some early plays at least based on that. And I would think that some of that translates to the online game.
I'm sure it's true, but one of the things I like to do is, I don't like to make too many assumptions about a player just from they're from Oslo or wherever they're from. If they're Asian, they're whatever. Because if you start making assumptions, and you might be able to get some false information to your game, and then say you make an assumption, you think, and then you see something, oh, it is true, and then it's been stuck in the back of your head, right? But then it's actually not true. It's can really ruin your results against this player.
Right.
And I'd rather just go on a clean slate and pick up information that I gather, may play between me and him, and gain my reads that way. I think I just rather not be in the game.
So it's all pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
All right. No. Hey, yours is more credible than mine when it comes to these things. So I have no problem with that.
I do actually think that I like the psychological aspect of a lot of poker stuff. So I definitely understand what you were driving at with that. But I think especially one thing when you're talking about the level that Randy's playing most of the time, with deep history because he plays so many hands against a lot of players. I was having a hard time seeing how knowing a little bit more about them personally could help there, with the exception of. Maybe if you really wanted to start needling them online or something, you can tell they're obviously going to be hot at and play, get out their game. But I doubt that's the majority of your style.
I would say what you learn, maybe those aspects that you're saying for live, probably more important at the live table than transitioning to their online, persona, etc.
All right.